Hey, what's up guys? Today, I'll show you a science fiction drama film, The Mandela Effect. Spoiler ahead, watch out and take care. The movie begins with a computer game designer named Brendan explaining how scientists use maze studies involving rats to map out how organisms commonly use their memory to learn, adapt, and evolve. Brendan is familiar with many of the memory principles in these studies because he uses them when designing computer games. He emphasizes that our memory is essential to our identity and behavior. He then asks what will happen if we can't trust our own memory. Brendan has a wife and daughter he loves very much. One day, he goes to the beach with them to relax. His daughter has a monkey doll that she's attached to. A while later, the daughter takes her doll and tells her parents that she will just be looking for seashells along the beach. She promises not to go to the water. The wife agrees as long as the daughter will stick to her promise. The daughter walks several hundred meters away from where the parents are sitting. Suddenly, the daughter's beloved doll gets washed away into the sea. Scared to lose her toy, the daughter wades into the waves to retrieve the doll. At that time, the waves are a bit strong already. The daughter is yanked by the current into deeper water and drowns to death. Brendan and his wife take their loss hard. He can barely function, and he's too deep in his grief. Their loved ones offer their support during the funeral. Months later, his wife decides to start packing up their daughter's room. But Brendan is not ready to let go of their daughter's memory yet. He protests and begins putting the things back to where they belong. As long as he can preserve the room as it was the day his daughter left it, he can pretend that she is still alive. Brendan notices the title of his daughter's favorite bedtime storybook. He finds it strange because he grew up thinking the spelling of the name was different. Later that night, Brendan's brother-in-law visits them. The wife is already sleeping, so it's Brendan who chats with him. Brendan brings up the title of the storybook and tells the brother-in-law that he always remembered it to be Berenstain. However, the title clearly says Berenstain. The brother-in-law replies that he also thought it was Berenstain. Brendan couldn't sleep, so he searches the internet to see if other people also made the same mistake they did. He finds a lot of articles about the popular conspiracy theory that supports his spelling of the book title. It's clear that he and the brother-in-law are not alone in this belief. The next morning, Brendan sees a family picture pinned to their refrigerator. The background shows that they took the picture at an observatory in Los Angeles. But Brendan clearly remembers that they took it somewhere else. They had gone to Los Angeles that year to visit the wife's mom, but she and the wife would often bicker while they were. In order to mitigate the tension, Brendan took his family to several tourist spots in the city. However, they never went to that particular observatory. Curiously, his own wife believes that they took it there. Brendan shows his brother-in-law the myriad of videos online about the Mandela effect, or the phenomenon of widespread collectively shared beliefs turning out to be wrong. The term was coined after a lot of people believed for years that President Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 80s, and they turned out to be incorrect. Other Mandela effect instances include the spelling of Looney Tunes and the name of a peanut butter brand. Whole communities have experienced this, and there is a wide network online that supports this theory. At this point, the brother-in-law is not as eager as Brendan to believe the Mandela effect. He keeps offering rational explanations as to why people would experience the effect. Meanwhile, Brendan goes deeper into the internet rabbit hole and now believes that the Mandela effect is the result of multiple parallel universes colliding, or they're in a simulation that is glitching. The simulation theory has long been discussed before, and it details how the world as we know it was built by code. This leads Brendan to another idea. If the multiverse does exist, maybe his daughter is still alive in one of them. And if he can alter reality according to his will, then he can possibly bring his daughter back. Brendan remembers the conversation he had with a priest who told him that his daughter's death was not part of God's plan. Brendan no longer believes in God after his daughter died. But now, he's starting to think that maybe there is another higher power controlling the world they live in. The brother-in-law senses that Brendan is getting obsessed with the Mandela effect. In one of their conversations, he tries to dissuade Brendan and tell him that the Mandela effect can just be chalked up to false memories that our brains come up with. But Brendan is holding on to the hope of having his daughter back, so he chides his brother-in-law for not being open to the Mandela effect. Meanwhile, Brendan's wife confesses that she's worried about him because he's been too withdrawn lately. He starts to tell her about the Mandela effect too, and proves it by asking her if she remembers the man in the logo of Monopoly having a mustache or not. He also points out that the doll their daughter possessed had a tail, but now when they search for pictures of it, all the dolls have no tail. The wife is too bewildered by his theories, and she thinks that this is his grief talking. She wants him to move on, but Brendan clearly can't let go of his daughter. Brendan and his wife go out on a double date with the brother-in-law and his new boyfriend. Brendan and the brother-in-law share a conversation, and the latter reveals that he and Brendan's wife are concerned about him. However, Brendan just shrugs off their concerns. Brendan continues to research simulation theory. He comes across a video mentioning a well-known doctor who specializes in it. However, when he tries to download a video of the doctor's lecture, the file ends up corrupted. He finally successfully watches another lecture, but midway through, the file gets corrupted too. So Brendan resorts to looking up the doctor's contact details. He makes a video explaining his bizarre experiences and sends it to the doctor, but he never hears back from him. Desperate, he goes to the university where the doctor works and waits for him to walk by. He introduces himself to the doctor. The doctor recognizes his video, but refuses to talk to Brendan. He then appears at the doctor's front door. The doctor finally relents and lets him inside, so they can talk. The doctor believes that the entire world and reality that they're living in is a simulation powered by a very powerful computer. Everything they see, feel, and smell is all because of a code. Brendan remembers that in video game design, the landscape and environment only get rendered once a player or character walks into that specific area. The simulations work similarly by only making our reality tangible once we step into a particular environment. The Nelson Mandela effect is a result of the simulation glitching or the code being changed. Brendan thinks if he can hack the code, then he can change their reality. Fortunately, the university that the doctor works at has a quantum computer they can use for their experiment, but the doctor reveals that his work on simulation theory has garnered too much negative attention because the unknown powers that rule the world want to stop him from exposing the truth. As a result, he was ostracized by his peers and released from his position as program head. Brendan comes up with the idea that maybe another person or being is running multiple simulations at once to see the possible political scenarios that will play out. These scenarios can determine the economic future of the world, and he thinks that whoever is running the simulation is profiting from these scenarios. Meanwhile, Brendan starts hallucinating his daughter. He sees her in her room for a few seconds before she disappears. He also experiences glitches. He begins working on hacking into the code. Fortunately, the code he needs is already very similar to the code he uses in designing his computer games. He will just integrate that code into the quantum code that he believes shapes the fabric of our reality. Then, he'll save that in a flash drive and run the code on the quantum computer. Since the quantum computer's processing power is very advanced, Brendan hopes it can run his code, so he will have access to the simulation. Brendan's uneasiness grows. One morning, he wakes up and his daughter is alive, and everyone else has forgotten that his daughter died, except for Brendan. Brendan calls everyone he knows, and they all don't remember her death. He tries calling the doctor, but his calls all go unanswered. Brendan is more than happy that his daughter is back in his life, but he can't help but wonder why the simulation changed. One night, his wife wakes up from a terrible nightmare. She becomes spaced out and listless. Brendan urges her to rest at home. However, later that afternoon, he comes home and discovers that his wife had left the stove burning while she was just staring into space. While outside with their daughter, the wife's strange behavior ramps up. She argues with Brendan about the paint color they'll be using for their living room and ends up throwing a mug into a wall. Brendan manages to calm her down and bring her home. Afterward, he and his daughter hang out in the living room while she plays the piano. The wife wakes up and hysterically screams that the daughter shouldn't be there. This implies that the simulation is subconsciously reminding the wife that the daughter is supposed to be dead. The brother-in-law witnesses this, and he urges Brendan to take his wife to a psychiatrist. Instead, Brendan rushes to the doctor's house. He is concerned that his wife's erratic behavior is caused by the same glitch in the simulation that brought his daughter back. However, it's not the doctor who opens the door, but the doctor's wife. It turns out the doctor committed suicide 2 months ago due to the disappointment he felt over his work being ostracized by the academe. This is impossible because Brendan just talked to the doctor days ago. He surmises that maybe the simulation brought his daughter back and killed the doctor in order to stop Brendan from hacking into the simulation's code. It's possible that the simulation creator thought these events would distract or deter Brendan from digging deeper into the conspiracy. This incentivizes him to continue working on the code. As a precaution, he records himself explaining everything to his family. Meanwhile, his wife is still catatonic. The brother-in-law is now helping to take care of her. Brendan watches his daughter sing while playing the piano. He's reminded of his memories of grieving her and the searing pain he felt when she died. The next day, Brendan heads to the university. He breaks into the building housing the quantum computer. However, he's stopped by an employee. Brendan had no choice but to knock him out. However, his head may have hit the floor too hard. Brendan feels guilty, but he has to keep going. He plugs in the code he made into the quantum computer. Its lights flicker as it implements the code. Brendan quickly exits the building. He passes by the dead body of the employee on his way out. When Brendan steps outside, the parking lot is empty and his car is gone. The next thing he knows, he's on the bus home. His wife calls him. She's panicking because she's sensing that something is wrong. All around Brendan, the code holding reality together is crumbling down. Things and people are disappearing or glitching. Trees and houses are flickering on and off. Brendan gets home and he holds his wife and daughter close. The wife's face glitches and she screams. The moon collides with another moon and explodes. Brendan's whole world turns to darkness. This is happening because Brendan's code is rewriting the history of the whole universe, all the way back to the world wars, lost civilizations, and even back to the dinosaurs. Brendan has been right the whole time. The reality they are living in is a simulation dictated by other beings. The universe rebuilds itself, and Brendan is taken back to that fateful day on the beach. Just like before, his daughter asks them if she can look for seashells along the beach. His wife allows her. But before she goes, Brendan changes destiny by telling his daughter to leave the monkey doll behind. This ensures that the monkey doll won't be taken by the sea, and his daughter won't feel the need to go into the water. Therefore, she won't die anymore. The movie ends with Brendan's success in changing his life and saving his daughter. This is Daniel CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.